Have you ever felt that your life was just one disaster after another, that you were lost, forgotten in a pit of despair? I want to show you a story that reveals my hand, my sovereign plan moving through betrayal, injustice, and a breathtaking rise to power. This is the story of Joseph. Watch closely and you will begin to understand my ways.
Now this single truth, this is the key to everything that follows. Let this sink deep into your heart. I was with Joseph. That's the constant in a life of chaos. It's the secret to his strength, whether he was a beloved son, a slave, or a prisoner. And it is the very same promise I extend to you right now.
We're going to walk through this journey in 5 parts. I'm going to show you step by step how I can take a man from a pit in Canaan and set him on the steps of a throne in Egypt. You're about to see how I work all things together for good.
I want you to imagine being 17 years old. You've been sold into slavery by your own brothers, dragged to a foreign land where you know no one. For most, that would be the end. But I had not forgotten him. For Joseph, this was just the beginning of a purpose far greater than he could have ever dreamed.
Joseph's rise was, well, it was nothing short of miraculous. His master, an Egyptian captain named Potiphar, saw my blessing on him. It was undeniable. Everything Joseph touched prospered. Think about that. A powerful Egyptian official saw my favor on this foreign slave and handed over his entire estate to him. That is the kind of trust and excellence that flows from a life surrendered to me.
So just when Joseph had gained trust, power, and success, his life was about to be turned completely upside down. You see, his very success made him a target. A dangerous temptation was coming, a test I would use to prove the quality of the man I was building.
Potiphar's wife began to pressure Joseph. And here's the crucial detail. This wasn't just a one-time thing. My word says she tempted him day by day. This was a relentless, daily assault on his character, designed to wear him down and break his resolve.
And right here, this is the core of who he was. Do you hear his heart in these words? Yes, he knew his duty to his master, but his ultimate loyalty, that was to me. He saw this temptation not just as a betrayal of a man, but as a great wickedness, a direct sin against his God. This is the kind of integrity I am calling you to.
After being rejected, she took her revenge. With a piece of his clothing as false evidence, she lied, and Potiphar's anger burned. And just like that, Joseph was thrown into a dungeon reserved for the king's enemies. His integrity, the very thing that made him great, had now cost him everything.
But even in the darkest of places, a heart that is devoted to me will shine. He was in a dungeon, yet the prison warden noticed him, trusted him, and ended up putting him in charge of the entire prison. You see, there it is again, that same theme. I was with Joseph. I never ever leave those who are mine.
Then I sent 2 of Pharaoh's highest officials to that same prison. Both of them were troubled by dreams that I'd placed in their minds. Joseph, giving all credit to me, interpreted their dreams with chilling accuracy. One would be restored to his post in 3 days, the other would be executed. And it happened exactly as I had revealed to him. Joseph's one human hope for getting out of that place came from the butler he had helped. All he asked was to be remembered. But the butler, in his joy and freedom, forgot him. That door, that human hope, slammed shut. And it had to, so that Joseph would learn to place all his hope in me and me alone.
Years passed. Joseph stayed in that prison, completely forgotten by man. But far away, in a royal palace, I was setting the stage for his release, and for the salvation of an entire nation.
Let's just pause for a moment and look at this timeline. He was a slave for 10 years. Then he was thrown in prison. After he interpreted the butler's dream, he waited 2 more full years in silence. 13 years of his youth were just gone. But in my economy, no time is ever wasted. I was forging a ruler.
The most powerful man on earth started having nightmares. Nightmares I had placed in his mind. He dreamed of fat, healthy cows and full ears of corn being completely devoured by their sickly, thin counterparts. He was terrified. And his best minds, his magicians and wise men, they were completely clueless. I brought the entire Egyptian empire to a crisis that only my servant could solve.
And right in that moment of national crisis, at the exact time I had appointed, I caused a jolt in the butler's memory. He finally remembered the young Hebrew man in the dungeon. And suddenly, the fate of the empire rested on a prisoner no one even knew existed.
And so, Joseph was rushed from the dungeon. He was shaved, cleaned up, and brought before the king of Egypt. This was it. This was the moment that his entire life, all the pain and all the waiting, had been building towards.
After 13 years of injustice, you'd expect him to be bitter, wouldn't you? Angry? But his character was unchanged. When Pharaoh praised his ability, Joseph's very first words were of profound humility. He gave all the credit to me. This is the heart I honor.
I gave him the interpretation, of course, 7 years of incredible abundance, followed by 7 years of devastating famine. But I gave him more than that. I gave him a brilliant, practical, step-by-step plan to save the nation. He wasn't just a dreamer anymore. I had made him a deliverer.
Just hours before he stood in that royal court, this dark, hopeless pit was his entire world.
And now, look at this reversal. In a single moment, Pharaoh elevated him. He gave him his own signet ring, the symbol of royal authority, fine linen, a gold chain, the second chariot. He made him ruler over all of Egypt, second only to the throne. From a prisoner to a prince in the blink of an eye. This is how I can exalt the humble.
He was sold into slavery at 17. Now, after 13 long years of suffering and preparation, he stands at 30 years old as the prime minister of the most powerful nation on earth. An unbelievable transformation, orchestrated completely by my hand.
Joseph's story, it's a shadow, a glimpse of a greater one that I have written for you. He was a beloved son, betrayed by his brothers, sold for a few pieces of silver and left for dead. Yet I raised him up from that pit to save his people. This all points to my only son, Jesus, who was also betrayed, crucified, but rose from the dead to save all of humanity. Joseph's journey from the pit to the palace shows you my power to redeem. So will you trust my plan for your life even when you feel like you're in a dungeon? Will you turn to Jesus, your true deliverer, today?